Hey, we're going to be diving into the world of contagion.
Oh, yeah.
Contagion.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is, and you've given us so much to work with here.
Yeah.
You've got a book excerpt,
Hmm.
some academic papers,
Right.
even some news articles. So
Interesting.
it seems like you really want to understand how things spread, not
Mhm.
just diseases, but
Yeah.
ideas,
Mhm.
behaviors,
Oh, yeah, the whole
the
shebang.
whole shebang.
It's a question that's really captivated thinkers for centuries.
I bet.
And I think your sources touch on some really crucial points.
So where do we even begin with something as broad as contagion? Do we
Yeah.
start with like the basics?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah,
A good foundation is understand the reproduction number,
okay.
better known as R,
Okay.
and it represents the average number of new infections caused by each infected individual.
Okay, the infamous R number.
Exactly.
So if a disease has an R of 2, that means each sick person on average infects 2 more people.
That's right. If R is above 1, the outbreak grows.
Got it.
If it's below 1, it generally shrinks.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
I'm sensing a but coming.
There's always a but.
Right.
Contagion.
Right.
R is an average.
Right.
It doesn't tell the whole story.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't account for something called super spreading.
Okay.
Think about the SARS outbreak in the early 2000s, or even the Serbian teacher who unknowingly spread smallpox
Oh, wow.
in Belgrade in 1972.
Okay.
These individuals infected far more people than the average,
Right.
changed the course of the outbreak dramatically.
So a few individuals can really throw off the average
Yeah.
and have an outsized impact.
Exactly.
Almost makes those public health announcements about like the average person infects X number of people
Right.
seem a little less helpful.
Well, it highlights that contagion isn't just about individual interactions.
I see.
We have to think about network effects as well.
Network effects. What do you mean by that?
So imagine a disease spreading through a city. It matters who you're connected to,
Right.
both physically and socially.
Okay.
Take the 2009 flu pandemic in the U.S. It spread across the eastern U.S. quite slowly, almost like a ripple effect.
Really?
You could have literally outwalked the flu on average.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I guess I never really thought about how geography and social connections play into this.
Exactly. And it gets even more interesting when you consider things like social contagion.
Okay.
For instance, those studies by Christakis and Fowler found that if your friend becomes obese,
Uh-huh.
your chances of becoming obese increase.
Really?
They called it social contagion.
So my friend's habits could actually be rubbing off on me.
The research suggests there's a connection.
Oh, wow.
But it's tough to separate genuine contagion from homophily.
Homophily.
That's the tendency for people to befriend those similar to themselves.
Oh, okay.
It's like the chicken and egg problem.
Right.
Are people obese because their friends are?
Uh-huh.
Or are they friends because they share similar lifestyles?
Right, right. It makes sense. But how do you even begin to untangle that?
Well, Christakis and Fowler got clever.
Okay.
They looked at the direction of friendships.
Okay.
They found if someone lists you as a friend,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't list them,
Mm-hmm.
their obesity can influence you,
Really?
but not the other way around.
That's fascinating. So these networks shape how all sorts of things spread, not just diseases, but behaviors and even ideas, right?
Absolutely. To really grasp this, I think it's helpful to look back at how our understanding of contagion has evolved over time.
Oh, I love a good history lesson. Take me back in time.
Let's journey back to the late 19th century
Okay.
and meet Ronald Ross,
Barbara Ross.
a British doctor obsessed with mosquitoes.
Okay.
He even wrote poetry about them.
This guy sounds like a character. What did he do?
Ross was convinced mosquitoes were spreading malaria.
Okay.
Pretty radical idea at the time.
I bet.
To prove it, he developed a mathematical model
Wow.
that predicted malaria transmission based on factors like the number of mosquitoes in infected humans.
So he was using math to track a disease. That's pretty impressive for that era.
It was groundbreaking. His model showed you didn't have to eliminate every mosquito to control malaria.
Oh.
Just reduce their numbers below a critical threshold.
Interesting.
However, despite this,
Yeah.
widespread adoption of mosquito control took years. Ross himself said, the world requires at least 10 years to understand a new idea,
Wow.
which is something to keep in mind as we continue our exploration of contagion.
It's a shame that even with solid evidence, progress can be so slow.
Yeah.
I guess that speaks to the power of existing beliefs and the challenge of changing minds even in the face of scientific evidence.
Unfortunately, resistance to new ideas is a recurring theme in the history of contagion.
Yeah?
Even Ross's collaborator, Anderson McKendrick,
Okay.
who tried to refine the mathematical model
Hmm.
using a more complex approach, initially faced skepticism.
It seems like every leap forward in understanding contagion is met with some pushback. But speaking of different ways things spread, I'm curious about how this all plays out in the financial world.
Ah, yes, financial contagion.
Yeah.
It's a different beast altogether.
Okay.
Imagine a rumor spreads about a bank's instability.
Mm-hmm.
Investors lose confidence,
Right.
leading to a rush of withdrawals.
Yeah.
And suddenly, even a healthy institution can collapse.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy based purely on fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this contagion can spread through tangible things like loans,
Right.
but also intangible things like speculation and rumors.
Oh, wow.
Think about the 2008 financial crisis.
Mm.
Banks were so interconnected that when one faltered,
Yeah.
it triggered a domino effect,
Oh, yeah.
leading to a global crisis.
It's crazy how quickly those financial systems can unravel.
Yeah.
Especially starting with something seemingly small like subprime mortgages.
It underscores the importance of understanding these network structures. One concept that emerged from this crisis was supersystemic risk.
Okay.
It suggests that while integrating financial systems can reduce smaller crashes,
Mm-hmm.
it can actually increase the probability of a major system-wide collapse.
So the very measures designed to create stability can paradoxically make the entire system more vulnerable.
Yeah,
That's a scary thought.
it is. And as we delve deeper into social contagion, we'll see how similar patterns emerge,
Right.
how seemingly small events can cascade into large-scale consequences.
I'm eager to dive into that. But first, how about we take a moment to let all this sink in? All right, we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah.
From R numbers to
Yeah.
super spreaders to collapsing financial systems.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
Now I'm really curious to dive into social contagion.
Okay.
How do ideas and behaviors spread like wildfire?
That's where things get especially fascinating.
Yeah.
We already touched on Christakis and Fowler's work on obesity,
Right.
but their research on smoking cessation provides another compelling example.
Okay.
They found that people were more likely to quit smoking if many of their contacts did as well.
Really?
Quitting, in a sense, became contagious.
So the power of social influence can actually be harnessed for good.
It certainly highlights the potential of social networks to drive positive change.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
But of course, we can't ignore the online world,
Right.
where social contagion takes on a whole new dimension.
Oh, absolutely. Social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter have supercharged how quickly information, whether true or not, spreads.
Yeah.
It feels like a funny meme or a controversial tweet can go global in a matter of hours.
The speed and reach of online communication are unprecedented.
Yeah.
It's led to this concept of the influencer,
Right.
someone with a large online following who can supposedly sway opinions and trends.
Yeah, the influencers.
Exactly.
But I wonder if their power is truly as significant as we often think.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The idea that specific individuals drive all social outbreaks is a bit of a myth. Sociologist Duncan Watts has done some fascinating work on online social networks,
Hmm.
and his research challenges this notion.
So it's not as simple as finding the right influencer to push a product or idea.
Not quite.
Okay.
Watts found that online networks, with their disassociative structure, can make certain types of contagion less effective compared to real-world networks.
Disassociative.
Disassociative just means popular people aren't always connected to other popular people.
So it's not just one giant interconnected web.
Exactly. An idea might spread rapidly within a small, highly connected cluster,
Okay.
but it's less likely to jump to other parts of the network.
I see.
Think of it like an echo chamber.
Uh-huh.
The message reverberates within a closed system.
That's a helpful analogy. It makes me think about how we navigate the spread of information online, especially with the rise of misinformation and fake news.
That's a critical point.
Yeah.
We've all seen how false information can spread rapidly online,
Right.
often with very real consequences. One concept that's been widely discussed is the backfire effect.
Right. The idea that trying to correct someone's false belief can actually make them dig in their heels and believe it even more strongly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Early research seemed to support this,
Uh-huh.
suggesting that facts don't always matter when they challenge our deeply held beliefs.
That's a scary thought. Does this mean we're doomed to live in a world of misinformation?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
More recent research has challenged the pervasiveness of the backfire effect.
Okay.
It turns out that while changing minds can be difficult,
Right.
corrections don't generally make beliefs stronger.
So there's still hope for facts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Factual information can be persuasive even when it contradicts pre-existing beliefs.
That's a relief to hear. But it still raises the question, how do we effectively control and mitigate the spread of harmful things both online and offline?
Right.
We've talked about vaccines and mosquito control for diseases, but what about things like violence or harmful online content?
Oh, let's start with violence. Gary Slutkin's work with the Cure Violence program is a great example of a successful intervention.
Okay.
He treats violence as a public health issue,
Interesting.
using methods inspired by disease control.
That's so interesting. Tell me more about how that works.
Cure Violence focuses on interrupting transmission,
Okay.
identifying and treating high-risk individuals,
Mhm.
and changing social norms that perpetuate violence.
Okay.
They use violence interrupters,
Violence interrupters.
people deeply embedded in the community who can de-escalate conflicts before they turn violent.
So it's like having community-based disease detectives for violence.
That's a great way to put it.
Wow.
The program has had impressive success in reducing violence in cities like Chicago and Baltimore, and their work during the 2011 London riots is particularly insightful.
Okay.
They were able to use a mathematical model to show how the riots spread through social networks
Wow.
and how targeted interventions could have minimized the damage.
It's amazing how those principles of contagion control can be applied to something as complex as social unrest.
It speaks to the power of understanding network effects
Yeah.
and the importance of early intervention.
But what about online? Harmful content and misinformation seems so much harder to control given the scale and speed of online communication.
It's a significant challenge. Platforms like Facebook have struggled to find a balance between free speech and preventing harm.
Right.
One approach has been focusing on removing bot accounts that spread disinformation.
But isn't that kind of like playing whack-a-mole?
Yeah.
For every bot removed, more seem to pop up.
It's an ongoing battle,
Yeah.
and it shows the limitations of relying solely on technology.
Right.
We also need to address the underlying social and psychological factors that make people susceptible to misinformation in the first place.
So it's about building resilience to those harmful contagions.
Precisely. And that's a complex undertaking that requires a multi-pronged approach.
This brings up a big question. Where do we go from here? What does the future hold for our understanding and control of contagion?
Well, we live in a world of ever-increasing data,
Right.
which presents both opportunities and challenges.
Now we're getting futuristic.
Yeah.
I'm thinking big data, artificial intelligence, and maybe even predicting and preventing outbreaks in entirely new ways.
Exactly.
Wow.
We already see location data from mobile phones being used to track diseases like malaria.
Oh, wow.
And online activity,
Wow.
Google searches, social media posts,
Right.
can provide valuable insights into emerging trends and potential outbreaks.
That's incredible, but I also wonder about the ethical implications of using such personal data,
Right.
especially when it comes to vulnerable populations like children.
You raise a crucial point.
Yeah.
As we gather more data, we need to be incredibly mindful of privacy
Right.
and ensure responsible and ethical use.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Weighing the potential benefits of data against the need to protect individual liberty.
Well, that's one of the biggest challenges in the digital age.
Yeah.
But I believe we can find ways to harness the power of data
Yeah.
while safeguarding privacy and promoting ethical practices.
So to bring it all together, what are the key takeaways for our listener who's been absorbing all this information about the complex world of contagion?
I'd say the most important takeaway is that contagion in all its forms is dynamic and multifaceted.
Okay.
It's shaped by individual behavior, network structures, environmental factors, and even the nature of what's spreading.
It's not just a virus jumping from person to person. It's about this intricate web of connections influencing how everything spreads: diseases, ideas, behaviors, even emotions.
Precisely. And as we move forward, we need to embrace interdisciplinary approaches
Right.
that combine data analysis with behavioral insights, ethical considerations, and a deep understanding of network dynamics.
We've covered so much ground today.
We have.
From early mosquito research to the complexities of online social networks, it's been an incredible journey.
It speaks to your curiosity and the fascinating mix of source material you provided.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a bit contagious with knowledge after this deep dive.
Hmm.
But seriously, this conversation has left me with so many thought-provoking questions about how we navigate this increasingly interconnected world.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of exploring a topic like contagion. It
Mm-hmm.
forces us to confront the ways we're all connected and to think critically about the forces that shape our lives.
Yeah, it really highlights the fact that we're not just isolated individuals.
Right.
We're all part of this intricate web of contagion,
Absolutely.
constantly influencing and being influenced by those around us.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
And as our world becomes even more interconnected,
Right.
understanding these principles of contagion is going to be absolutely crucial for navigating the challenges and opportunities that come our way.
It's almost like we need a new kind of literacy,
Hmm.
a contagion literacy,
Oh,
to help us make sense of it all.
contagion literacy.
I like that.
It's about developing that critical awareness of how information, ideas, and behaviors spread,
Yeah,
and then using that knowledge to make more informed decisions in our lives.
exactly. And it's not just about protecting ourselves from harmful contagions.
Right.
It's also about harnessing the power of the positive ones,
Right.
spreading kindness,
Hmm.
encouraging healthy behaviors, and ultimately creating a more informed and engaged society.
Well said.
Yeah,
We all have a role to play in shaping the course of contagion,
right.
both in our personal lives and on a larger scale.
This deep dive has been truly eye-opening.
It has.
It's amazing how much we've uncovered by exploring these different sources, from
Mm.
those historical accounts of disease outbreaks
Right.
to the cutting-edge research on online social networks.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And it really underscores the importance of considering multiple perspectives
Mm.
to grasp the complexity of something like contagion. Absolutely. So, as we wrap up this exploration, I want to leave our listener with a final thought,
Okay.
something to ponder even after this deep dive ends.
I'm all ears. What's the question that's been lingering in your mind?
It's this: how do we as individuals navigate this interconnected world and manage the risks and opportunities presented by all these different forms of contagion,
Mm.
whether it's protecting ourselves from harmful information
Right.
or being part of positive social change?
Yeah.
Understanding contagion seems essential for making informed choices
Absolutely.
and shaping the world around us.
That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
And one without easy answers.
Right.
But I think by engaging with these ideas we've discussed,
Uh-huh.
by developing that contagion literacy,
Right.
we can all become more discerning about the information we consume,
Yeah.
more responsible members of our communities, and more effective agents for positive change.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thank you for joining us on this